I opened the bedroom door, and froze. My husband was moaning. Under another man. On our bed. Their bodies tangled in sheets I had folded the morning before. And the man he was with, was someone I knew. Someone I trusted. But here is the worst part. My husband's eyes met mine. And she did not stop. She kept riding him. Like I was the one intruding. That was the moment I knew. Love had not died. It had been murdered. Right there, in my own home. To everyone watching this story, I just want to say thank you. To all of you who have subscribed, thank you so much for fueling this channel with your amazing support. And to my new and returning viewers who have not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Your subscription is the energy that keeps this channel alive and thriving. Please hit that subscribe button right now and let me know in the comments what your thoughts are as this story unfolds. My name is Hannah LeClaire, and I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood just outside Dallas, Texas. I am 36 years old, a mother of one smart, witty little girl named Emma, and until 2 weeks ago, I was married to a man I thought would grow old with me. His name is Jason LeClaire. 38. Smart, handsome in that silent Wall Street type of way, with salt and pepper temples and a work ethic that left me lonely more nights than I could count. For the past few years, Jason had been climbing the corporate ladder, working 16-hour days, always buried in reports, meetings, and business trips. I understood at first. I truly did. I supported him while putting my own dreams on pause. But the longer he succeeded, the more invisible I became. 3 months ago, I joined a gym. I told Jason I wanted to feel better. Healthier. He grunted and nodded, barely glancing up from his laptop. At that gym, I met Logan. Logan was everything Jason used to be and then some. Tall, muscular, with dark brown eyes that pierced through you when he smiled. A former Marine turned fitness trainer, he worked with mostly women. His charisma was effortless. His attention, intoxicating. He never made a move. Not at first. But over time, it shifted. He lingered longer during stretches. Texted me tips late at night. Told me my progress was amazing. That I had a beautiful glow. That any man not worshipping me was a fool. And I started to believe him. I told myself it was harmless. A little flirtation to revive a dying self-esteem. But deep down, I knew I was craving something more than compliments. One Thursday evening, I came home from the gym and found a towel on our bedroom floor. Just one towel. White. Slightly damp. Smelled like cinnamon-scented soap. Not ours. Jason was supposed to be out of town until Sunday, but there were 2 half-empty wine glasses in the sink. A lipstick-stained napkin on the couch. I did not confront him that night. I needed more. I started checking his messages while he showered. He had changed his passcode, but Jason was always predictable. I guessed it in 2 tries. And there it was. Texts. From a contact saved as LG. You taste like strawberries today. Still thinking about that last session. Next time, bring the pink set. I scrolled through more. Screenshots. Photos. Video clips. A video of my husband, my Jason, kissing her stomach. Her moans echoed across the screen as he whispered words I used to long for. I nearly vomited. But I kept my silence. The day everything snapped. Jason was away on another business trip, or so he claimed. I told Emma she would be staying the weekend at her grandparents'. I needed time alone to clean the house and rest. By Saturday afternoon, I had cleaned every single surface of my soul. I was sitting in my car outside our home, engine off, heart racing. It was almost 4 p.m. Jason's car was in the driveway. I crept in through the back entrance. Every room was silent, until I reached the top of the stairs. Our bedroom door was slightly ajar. The scent of vanilla candles hit me first. Then soft moans. Then the unmistakable slapping rhythm of betrayal. I pushed the door open. There they were. Jason, naked. Her, fully on top of him, back arched. Moaning. And who was she? Logan. The man from the gym. The one who called me beautiful. The one who said I deserved more. He was not just seducing women. He was sleeping with both of us. And in that moment, my shame turned to rage. But I did not scream. I did not cry. I simply stared. She turned her head. Eyes wide. Jason froze. I turned around, walked downstairs, and picked up my phone. I dialed a number I had never imagined calling for something like this. "Hello, Mrs. Leclerc?" I said calmly. "I would love it if you and Mr. Leclerc could join us for dinner tomorrow night. At our home." Silence. That was all I heard after I hung up the phone. Not Jason's footsteps. Not the sound of clothes rustling. Not the quick shuffle of someone trying to escape shame. Just silence. I remained in the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of wine with a steadiness that surprised even me. My body should have been trembling. My hands should have been shaking. My heart should have been breaking. But it was not. It had already broken months ago, and I was simply standing in the ashes of what used to be our marriage, holding the match he had struck. Upstairs, the creaking of our bedroom floor finally broke the quiet. Jason came down wearing nothing but a pair of hastily buttoned jeans. His shirt was inside out. Logan, the gym trainer who had been calling me Queen for weeks, had vanished like the coward he was, probably out the back door. Jason opened his mouth to speak. I raised my hand. No words. Not yet. He would not get the easy way out. I took a slow sip from my wine glass and said only one thing. "Your parents are coming for dinner tomorrow at 6. Be dressed. Wear the blue shirt. You always looked honest in blue." And then I walked away. The next morning, I got up early. I scrubbed the counters. Vacuumed the rugs. Washed the windows. Changed the sheets, twice. Not because I cared about impressing anyone, but because I wanted everything to look perfect. I wore my best apron, the one Jason's mother had given me 3 Christmases ago. I baked her favorite pecan pie and cooked pot roast with rosemary and thyme, just the way his father liked it. It had to be the Last Supper. And like every Last Supper, it needed to taste like peace, but serve like war. Jason spent most of that day in the guest bedroom. He knew better than to speak. At 5:58 p.m., the doorbell rang. Jason's parents stood side by side in the doorway, smiling with that innocent southern grace that always made me feel like I was part of something bigger. Marjorie and Daniel Leclerc. Church people. Traditional. Republican to the bone. Their son could do no wrong. "Oh honey," Marjorie smiled as she embraced me. "The house smells heavenly. It is so good to see you." I nodded and hugged her back. Jason stepped forward to hug them, and I watched his mother scan his face. There was tension in his smile, a twitch in his brow. But he was good at hiding shame. He had been doing it for years. Dinner was served. We sat at the table. They complimented the roast. I thanked them. We toasted with sweet tea. Marjorie was never a fan of alcohol. The first 20 minutes were filled with pleasant lies. How work was going. How Emma was doing in school. How quiet the neighborhood had been lately. I waited until everyone had cleaned their plates. Jason took a sip of tea. Marjorie was reaching for another slice of pie. And then I said it. "Marjorie, Daniel," I began, folding my napkin carefully, "before dessert, I have something to show you. Something important." Jason stiffened. I stood and walked to the living room, where I had already connected my phone to the television. I tapped the screen, selected a video, and pressed play. It began with the sound of giggles. The bedroom came into view, our bedroom. Jason's voice was heard first. Then Logan's. Then the screen filled with the image of two men in bed, their bodies tangled, their faces exposed, their sounds unmistakable. Marjorie gasped. Her hand flew to her chest. What is this? Daniel dropped his fork. Jason stood, his face white with horror. Hannah, turn it off. Turn it off right now. But I did not. I let it run, 32 seconds of betrayal. Then I pressed pause, turned slowly, and looked at his parents. That is your son, I said quietly. And that man he is sleeping with is my gym trainer. Logan. Jason's father stood up, veins pulsing at his temple. You brought us here to show us this filth? I remained still. I brought you here, I said, because your son has been lying to all of us. And I wanted you to see the truth the same way I did, unfiltered and raw. Jason tried to speak again. Marjorie was weeping now, staring at her son as if seeing him for the first time. You are sick, Daniel growled at Jason. You are an embarrassment. Jason looked at me, his eyes now glassy with guilt. You did not have to do this, Hannah. I stared back. Neither did you. But you did. They left without dessert. Marjorie barely looked at me on her way out. Daniel slammed the car door so hard, I thought the window would shatter. Jason sat in the living room, his head in his hands. I stood across from him, arms folded. You humiliated me, he said softly. I laughed. Truly laughed for the first time in months. Humiliation? I stepped forward. You had another man in my bed, Jason. You lied to my face for months. You gaslit me. You gave your body to someone else while calling yourself a husband. And now you want to cry about humiliation? He looked up, pleading. I made a mistake. I was confused. I never meant for it to go that far. That far? I raised an eyebrow. Jason, I have folders. Videos. Screenshots. Voice notes. You did not make a mistake. You made a lifestyle. He buried his face in his hands. And then, for the first time, he cried. Grown man, broken cries. I did not comfort him. I did not care. That night, I packed a bag for Emma. I emailed my lawyer. I printed every file, screenshot, and timestamp I had gathered over the last 3 weeks. I placed them in a folder labeled custody proof. I also took one final precaution. I called the gym. Hi, I said, disguising my voice ever so slightly. I am calling about your trainer, Logan. I believe you should know he has been having inappropriate relationships with married clients. Multiple ones. Including mine. The receptionist gasped. I gave them just enough to investigate. Screenshots, videos, a few names I found in his messages. And then I hung up. By Sunday morning, Logan's Instagram was gone. The gym posted a notice. Effective immediately, Logan H. is no longer affiliated with our fitness program. We are conducting a thorough review of all client relationships and take professionalism very seriously. I smiled to myself. It was not revenge. It was justice. It had been 10 days since the dinner that turned our home into a battlefield. 10 days since I exposed my husband's affair with a man who had been whispering sweet lies into my ears while laying with the man who shared my bed. 10 days since his parents drove off in a cloud of dust and disappointment. I had not seen Jason since that night. He packed a few bags and moved into a hotel downtown. I did not ask where. I did not care. But silence does not always mean peace. It just means the storm is learning to speak more clearly. The divorce attorney I hired was a sharp woman named Rebecca Hale. Late 40s. Divorced twice. No nonsense. She looked through my folder of screenshots, text messages, and video clips. She reviewed the voice recordings I had captured, Jason's confession, his pleas, the soft moans I never wanted to hear again. When she finished, she looked at me and said, "We will not just get custody. We will get the house, child support, and a judge's sympathy." And we did. The court date came swiftly. Jason's lawyer tried to play the typical game, blame me for emotional neglect. Said I had been distant, cold, and obsessed with appearances. He said the affair happened because Jason felt alone. I leaned forward and whispered to my lawyer, asked the court if his loneliness included a gym discount plan with Logan. Rebecca stood and played our ace. She submitted the evidence. The courtroom grew quiet. When the judge watched the 30-second video of Jason moaning under a man while his wedding ring glistened in the camera light, the mood shifted instantly. "Your Honor," Rebecca said, "my client did not abandon her husband. He abandoned the vows. Repeatedly. With deception, with malice, and with intent. What she is asking for is not revenge. It is relief." Jason tried to make a final plea. He stood and looked at me. "I never stopped loving her," he said to the judge. I was confused. I am still confused. But she is the mother of my child. I do not want to lose them. I stood too. And for the first time, I spoke in that courtroom. "Your Honor," I said, "confusion does not last 7 months. Confusion does not install hidden apps. Confusion does not undress for someone else in the bed we shared for 10 years. That is not confusion. That is cruelty." Verdict. The judge ruled in my favor. Full custody of Emma. I would remain in the home until she turned 18. Jason would pay child support and was only granted supervised visitation until further review. He looked like a ghost when we left the courtroom. But I felt reborn. Rebuilding myself. I joined a women's divorce support group 2 weeks later. Every Thursday evening, we sat in a small room at a local community center, sharing stories of betrayal, financial ruin, secret children, hidden affairs. It made my pain feel both smaller and more significant at the same time. One night, after a particularly emotional session, a woman named Denise looked at me and said, "You do not speak like someone broken. You speak like someone building." She was right. I had started to build again. I enrolled Emma in ballet lessons. I applied for a part-time position as a home design consultant, something I had always dreamed of doing but never found time for in my marriage. I painted the guest room. Changed the bed sheets. Bought new towels. I burned the old ones in the fire pit. Logan tried one last time. I received a message from an unknown number a month after the divorce was finalized. "I know you probably hate me. But I miss talking to you. I never meant to hurt you. Can we talk?" It was him. Logan. The man who played me and Jason both like puppets. The man who walked into my life with charm and left it on fire. I did not respond. Instead, I forwarded the message to his gym's new management, along with the screenshots. I never heard from him again. 3 months passed. Jason was no longer with his company. Word had gotten around, someone from Human Resources leaked part of the scandal. The whispers were enough to cost him his position. His father disowned him. His mother still called Emma on holidays, but she had stopped asking about him. He moved out of the hotel and into a tiny apartment on the east side of town. One day, I dropped Emma off for a supervised visit, and he looked like he had aged 10 years. "Are you happy now?" he asked me. I looked at him for a long moment. "I am free now. That is better than happy." A twist I never saw coming. 3 months later, I was standing in the checkout line at Target when I heard someone say my name. I turned and saw Ethan Marks, my old college boyfriend. He had been the, almost, love of my life. We had dated for 2 years, broken up when careers sent us to different states. He was the first man to ever truly listen to me. He had moved to Texas recently after his own divorce. We talked in the parking lot for over an hour. It felt easy. Honest. Real. There were no games in his smile. No secrets in his eyes. Just a man who had been through the fire and recognized the burned scars in someone else. Today. It has been nearly a year since I walked in on my husband with another man. A year since I dialed his parents and served their son's truth for dinner. A year since I stopped pretending that loyalty meant staying silent in the face of betrayal. I am not ashamed anymore. I am not broken. I am awake. And to anyone out there who is still choosing silence to keep a family together while dying inside. Do not. Tell the truth. Burn the lies. Rebuild the ruins. Because sometimes, destruction is not the end. It is just the beginning of what you deserve.